Hello and welcome to PGurus. My name is Kushal. I'll be your host today. And today our guest is Mandar Apte. He is located in Mumbai, and he actually has been in the United States for a very, very long time. And he is the founder of Cities for Peace. And this is a foundation that has been making waves, in terms of positive vibes. And I want him to kind of explain to us exactly what is Cities for Peace and some of the work that they have been doing recently. We have seen a lot of different issues arising in the United States, from caste discrimination to violence, and recently, there have been shootings in the United States. Every other week there's some shooting that makes the headlines. And so, how is Cities for Peace something that is relevant for the times in terms of violence, and how that is the shining example of Hinduism in action? Mandar, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you, Kushal, and thanks to Sri Iyer for empowering young people like you to take more responsibility for being active in the community.
Thank you.
Kudos.
Yes, why don't you explain to us what Cities for Peace is and some of the work that you've been doing, and how did you start this movement?
So basically, I have lived in the US for about 25 years, starting as a petroleum engineer, working in the oil industry in Shell, and heading the innovation practice for this small oil company. In 2016, when the Trump election happened, there was a moment in my life where one of my friends, Mexican American, brown-skinned friend, was racially abused at a gas station in Houston where I used to live. That's where I felt, Kushal, that it's no longer something that I see on CNN and I can, have my meal and move on. It's coming very close to my home. My best friend had been abused. So that's where I started thinking that, violence happens to anybody. It happens anytime. It happens any place, in a mall, in a cafe, in your neighborhood school. So what I observed was when it happens, maybe I will do something about it if it happens to me directly or indirectly. Otherwise, I'm so desensitized, I'm so immune because of how frequently it happens. And so that was my key moment of truth, that if I don't do something about it now, maybe we are programmed to become robots. Like, we are so desensitized. So that is where we started thinking about, like, what can we actively do to promote peace, right? Not as an afterthought, not prayers and candle marches, but can we do something to actively promote peace, compassion, non-violence? That is because that act of violence can happen in my child's school or my neighborhood school. And then we will repent that we are custodians of this ancient tradition. We are blessed to have access to peace, inner peace. But if we don't share that essence of our dharma, of our tradition, and this was the calling, right? So to socially make it relevant today. And violence doesn't see my skin color, it doesn't see my bank balance. So that is where we have to apply some of our wisdom and philosophy of social harmony, harmonious coexistence. And all this, I felt the calling that this is the time. And the level of the city is a good thing, because it's not too small, it's not too big. And if we can bring people together in the city and solve the issues that face a community or a neighborhood, then that may be a good legacy to leave, right? For us to showcase the social relevance of our dharma, of our tradition. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. This is fantastic. And so, Give us a little bit of an insight or some examples as to what really transforms people in this program, and some of the work that you've been doing in terms of some of the success stories. I know that you shared with me when we spoke. Share some stories with us.
So, coming from the corporate innovation background, I started making a business case. Okay, there's a business case for why we need to actively promote peace. School incidences is one business case. Like, it can happen in any parent's school, in any neighborhood. But the breakthrough we got was in the city of Los Angeles. So when I put some attention on the money that is lost or spent as soon as a murder happens, as soon as a homicide happens, how much money is spent from the taxpayer, from the city, that number comes to about $1 million per homicide. And in the city of Los Angeles, yes, there is Hollywood, yes, there is Santa Monica Beach, but there is also the inner city, there is also South Central, there is also almost 200 to 800 murders every year, depending on many factors. So that's the amount of money that we calculated that the city is spending on the business of violence. So the proposal that we made to the city of Los Angeles is, give us your worst neighborhood, violence affected neighborhood, and we will bring together people who are seemingly opposites, like gang members of opposite gangs, victims of gang violence, and the LAPD cops. These are stakeholders that usually don't hang out with each other. And we will create the space through the programming that we have designed, where we will invite all of them, and they will go through a yoga meditation based leadership program for transformation. And the reason that is needed is, Kushal, everybody is traumatized in such neighborhoods, right? Trauma perpetuates if it is not healed. So that's the first step of the programming that we did, is through yoga, pranayama, sudarshan kriya, breathing exercises, can we empower these stakeholders to manage their own trauma, to manage their own well-being. And the second step, through conversations, through interactive processes, can we deepen their human-human connection, right? Because violence happens when I start thinking about you in a certain way, based on images or media profiling that has happened, and I have lost the ability to connect with you as a human being. So that is where this program perhaps is the most humbling thing in my adult life. Is we brought together gang members, regular citizens, victims of gun violence in those neighborhoods, and the police officers. So usually in America, community and police relations, we know that they are, at least they are not as good as they can be. So that is where we applied the science of transformation using meditation practice, and we deepened those relationships. And then that one, that was replicated because of the pandemic. This got replicated in many cities which went through that social unrest after George Floyd. So we were invited by the city communities of Minneapolis, Rochester, Seattle, many cities. And then last year, just one more example of where this kind of thinking has evolved is the United Nations spends a lot of money on peacekeeping, peace building. But none of their programming actively involves trauma healing, actively involves social cohesion. So these peace building programs are usually based on Western models, right? Western models that unless societal structure changes, unless there is no corruption, etc., institutional changes, they say peace will not happen. But in the Eastern school of thought, right, in our Indic school of thought, unless there is inner peace, outer peace is not sustainable. So that is where we are incorporating now our wisdom of India in even problems that have lasted for 50 years. Like last year, we did a program in Cyprus. It's a war that happened between Muslims and Greek Christians on the small island of Cyprus for 50 years ago. But trauma still exists, right? Trauma percolates. So that's where we were invited as a bridge builder to deepen the relations between the Turkish Muslim community, Cypriot Muslims, and Cypriot Christians on the south of the island. And so that is where I feel like we need to do more of this. We need to do more of this because every community has some issue.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I really wanted you to share this story with our viewers, because when you and I spoke on the phone, this was the most incredible thing that I've heard. Because we talk about Hinduism, we talk about when people think about Hinduism, we think about representation, but we don't really think about the wisdom and the philosophy and how that is not exclusive, right? It's actually for the whole world. It's something that everybody can can benefit from. And it's amazing to see this philosophy, this dharma of ours in action, in peace building, and also for people to discover our ethos, who we are, right, and what we represent as a timeless civilization, and why India was always considered the beacon for the world, right? The lighthouse. It's still, even today, with the Raisina dialogues that we just had, it's called Lighthouse in the Tempest, right? So what is India in terms of a lighthouse, right? It's spiritual wisdom that has survived the ages. And so it's just amazing that we have so many transformative processes. We have the wisdom that's necessary for actual peace building in the world. And it's incredible. There's a lot of different Hindu organizations also active in peace building. And I think that as somebody like you is a great inspiration for people that do want to get involved in peace buildings, because I think success stories such as the ones that you shared with us, they're very important. That's really what inspires people. So Mandar, it was awesome hearing your experiences. And I will also share one more thing. When I teach meditation, I have seen that transformation in people from going into more of a bookish philosophy into a more experiential level of living. And I think when everybody lives from their heart and not just from their head, a lot of transformation can happen. Communities that have never have been talking to each other suddenly talk with each other. Families that have been experiencing fighting, suddenly the family members get together. I've seen this myself. So I think that we're blessed. We're really blessed with an amazing transformative philosophy and processes. And then recently there was a shooting in Dallas. I want to talk about that a little bit. I actually am located in Dallas. And this shooting happened just minutes from my house, and it was just it was tremendous. Nobody ever expected that somebody would jump out of their car with what seemed to be, I think, an AR-15. I'm not sure exactly what type of semi-automatic assault rifle that was, but this guy, he was strapped, he had a vest on, and it's very traumatic. People died, and so some of the work that you and I are both involved in is helping these trauma victims, and again, meditation and really sharing some sort of practices with them to help them in this difficult time is very important for somebody that is interested in doing that work. So and I think that's something that everybody can understand, that it is possible. We don't have to shy away from it. I think when we are sort of the first responders to help, and if we are able to help people, even if it means just reaching out to them and seeing what we can do to help, I think that's amazing. So anyway, Mandar, there's a lot, right, that Cities for Peace has done. Where can people go to learn more about Cities for Peace? Have you come out with any sort of material where people can find out more?
So obviously the website is written on my name title card, citiesforpeace.org. There is another thing that we did that might be of use for people who are watching, right? Usually, whenever an act of violence happens, whether it's suicide on campus or a police incidents or this mass shooting that happened, most of us, we get pain in our heart, like, oh, should not have happened, right? Most of us also take one more step and say, but what can I do about it? I don't think I can do anything about it. So that's where we feel a little helpless. So for such people who resonate with this line of thought that, hey, I can no longer remain a bystander, I want to be part of the solution, but I don't know how. For that demographic, we have made a 1 hour module that includes yoga, pranayama, breathing exercises, the science of it, and some stories, okay, of people who have come to India with me with a gang background, with survivors of mass shootings, and in their transformation, we see through a story that you can bring that transformation in your own life as well. So it's a 1 hour module. I would invite people to watch the module. It's called Be the Change. And if you like the module and the way it has been designed, you can maybe bring it in your own child's school or your own workplace and become an agent of transformation. You don't need to be a yoga teacher. You don't need to be a scholar in anything. All you need is a good heart that, hey, I want to be part of the solution. Because this polarization that politicians will, of course, keep doing in whichever country you go. And media, like, you don't know who's paying what kind of media today. So civil society, and that is our only hope. So if people want to be part of the change, then yes, look at our work. And if you feel you want to be part of this, reach out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mandar, for sharing your story with us today. And we wish you the best of luck. Keep doing what you're doing and inspiring all of us. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Kushal. All the best to you. All the best to you. Yeah. Keep putting your sprinkle dust, airy fairy dust. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Continue.
We'll keep doing this. Thank you.
Continue your good work. Yeah.